The coffee pot was already falling when Maya saw the guns. She watched it tumble from the counter in slow motion, white porcelain spinning through fluorescent light, blue flowers painted on the side, catching and releasing brightness as it turned. The smell of burnt coffee hung in the air, mixing with grease from the grill and the pine-scented cleaner she'd used on the floor an hour ago. It shattered against the tile at the exact moment 3 men stepped through the door. Maya's hands were wet from washing dishes. Soap suds dripped from her fingers onto her pink uniform, leaving dark spots that spread across the polyester. The fabric stuck to her ribs where she'd been sweating in the kitchen. Her name tag, Maya in faded letters, was pinned crooked. She'd been working the overnight shift at Lou's Diner for 6 months. 6 months of keeping her head down. 6 months of catching herself before she moved too fast. 6 months of being invisible. The man in booth 7 looked up from his untouched eggs. Dorian Kane. She knew his name even though he'd never told her. Knew he came in every Tuesday at 2 a.m. and ordered food he never ate. Knew his guards sat 2 booths behind him, silent as statues in their expensive suits. Knew the way he watched her move between tables like he was trying to memorize every step. Knew what he was. The 3 men spread out with military precision, black tactical gear, faces hidden behind ski masks. The weapons in their hands weren't standard firearms. The barrels were too long, modified. Silver bullets loaded in chambers designed to kill things that couldn't normally die. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. The sound of it filled her ears, drowning out the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the clock above the register. Dorian's 2 guards were already moving. Fast. Faster than human. They cleared the distance between booths in a blur that normal people couldn't track. Their hands went for weapons concealed under expensive jackets. Their suit coats whispered as they moved. The gunshots sounded like the world ending. 3 shots. Thunder in the small space. The smell of gunpowder, sharp and chemical. Both guards went down. Silver bullets through the chest, through the heart. The kind of kill shots that worked on vampires when nothing else did. Blood spread across the checkerboard floor. Dark, almost black in the fluorescent light. Maya stood frozen behind the counter. Her reflection stared back at her from the chrome napkin dispenser. Wide brown eyes, dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. 26 years old and terrified. The lead gunman turned his weapon toward Dorian. Maya's body moved before her brain caught up. She was across the diner in less than a heartbeat. The world blurred. Tables and chairs became streaks of color, air rushing past her face, her feet barely touching the ground. The gunman's finger was still squeezing the trigger when she reached him. She caught his wrist midair and twisted. Hard. The bone snapped like dry wood, the sound of it crisp and final. The gun clattered to the floor, metal on tile. It spun away under a booth. The man screamed. Maya spun toward the second gunman who was already firing. She moved through the bullets like they were standing still. Plucked 3 from the air with her bare hands. The metal burned against her palm, hot from the barrel, but didn't pierce skin. The third gunman grabbed for Dorian. Maya drove her elbow into his throat and felt cartilage crush beneath the blow. He dropped like a stone. His head cracked against the edge of a table on the way down. Silence crashed over the diner. The only sound was her breathing, harsh and ragged, and the drip of blood hitting the floor from the dead guards. The 3 men lay scattered across the checkerboard tile, groaning, bleeding, breathing but broken. Maya stood in the center of the wreckage, her chest heaving, her hands shaking. The bullets she'd caught rolled from her palm and pinged against the floor. Small sounds, almost musical. 8 years, 8 years of hiding what she was. 8 years of watching plates fall in slow motion and forcing her hands to stay still. 8 years of biting her tongue when drunk men grabbed her because fighting back meant questions she couldn't answer. Gone in 30 seconds. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to Crimson Romance Tales and leave a comment telling us where you're listening from. Your support helps us bring you more stories like this one. Now, back to Maya and Dorian. She turned slowly. Dorian sat perfectly still in the booth, his untouched eggs growing cold, while coffee sent up lazy spirals of steam that caught the light. But his eyes, God, his eyes were locked on her face with an intensity that made her skin burn. Maya. His voice was silk over gravel, deep enough to feel in her chest. She couldn't speak past the blood rushing in her ears and the smell of gunpowder and the way her hands wouldn't stop shaking. He stood and unfolded from the booth with that predator's grace she'd been pretending not to notice for 6 months. Tall. So tall she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Dark hair falling across his forehead, sharp cheekbones, pale skin that never saw sun. How? The single word held 1,000 questions. Maya's throat closed. I should go. His hand shot out and caught her wrist. Not rough, not threatening, just desperate. His skin was ice against hers, cold enough to burn, cold enough that she felt it through the adrenaline still pumping through her system. Please. The word cracked something in her chest. Please don't run. She stared at where his hand circled her wrist, at the way his fingers trembled slightly, at his pale skin and careful touch, and the way he held her like she might disappear if he let go. Vampires didn't tremble, didn't beg, didn't look at shy waitresses like they were the only solid thing in a world gone mad. You just saved my life, Dorian said, his voice rough and raw. The least you can do is tell me what you are. Maya pulled her hand free, but she didn't run. Couldn't make her legs work. I'm nobody, just dhampir. The word hit her like a slap. She took a step back and hit the counter. The edge of it dug into her spine. How did you... I've lived 800 years. His eyes never left her face. I know what dhampirs can do. The speed, the strength, the way you caught those bullets like they were standing still. He moved closer. Close enough that she could smell him. Pine and rain and something darker. Old books and older wine. What I don't know is why you've been hiding it. Because people like you hunt people like me. The words came out sharper than she meant. But it was true, dhampirs belonged nowhere. Too vampire for humans, too human for vampires, abominations in both worlds. Dorian went very still. I would never hunt you. You say that now. I say it because it's true. His hand came up and hovered near her face without touching, asking permission. You could have let them kill me. Should have. I'm a vampire king. I've done terrible things. I'll do terrible things again. His voice dropped to a whisper. But you saved me anyway. Why? Maya didn't have an answer. Couldn't explain the instinct that had made her move. The way every cell in her body had screamed to put herself between him and danger. The way she'd been watching him for 6 months, too, memorizing the way he smiled when she brought his coffee, the way he always said, "Thank you," like he meant it. I don't know, she whispered back. Something shifted in Dorian's expression, softened. His hand finally touched her cheek. Ice against warmth. His thumb was gentle against her skin. I've been coming here for 6 months. Do you know why? She shook her head. Didn't trust her voice. Because of you. The confession hung between them, heavy, loaded. Because watching you bring me coffee I can't drink is the best part of my week. Because your shy smile makes me feel human again. His thumb stroked her cheekbones so gently it made her throat tight. Because I've been falling for you since the first time you blushed when I said thank you. Maya's breath caught. That's impossible. I know. You don't even know me. Then let me. His forehead touched hers. His breath was cool against her lips. Let me know you. The real you. Not the shy waitress pretending to be human. She should say no. Should run like she'd been running for 8 years. Should disappear before this got any more complicated. But she was so tired. Tired of hiding. Tired of being alone. Tired of watching him leave every Tuesday and wondering what it would feel like to be touched by someone who looked at her like that. And the way he looked at her, like she was something precious instead of something broken, made her want things she'd given up hoping for. "Those men will send more," she said, her voice barely steady, "with more guns." "More silver." "Yes." His hand slid into her hair. "Which is why you're coming with me. Tonight. Now. Before whoever sent them realizes you're the reason I'm still alive. I can't just... You can't stay here." His voice went hard, urgent. "They saw what you did, they know what you are, and they'll come back for you too." Maya looked around the diner, at the broken men on the floor, at the dead guards bleeding out in booth 9, at the life she'd built here turning to ash around her, at the shattered coffee pot on the floor. "Where would we go?" "My home." He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. "My territory, where I can protect you." "I don't need protection." "I know." Pride flickered across his face, real admiration. "But you shouldn't have to fight alone, not anymore." The words broke something in her chest, 8 years of loneliness cracking open. "Okay." The word came out barely a whisper. "Okay, I'll come with you." Relief flooded his expression and made him look younger, almost human. He pulled out his phone and made 3 calls in rapid succession, each one short, clipped, commands given in a voice that expected obedience. A black car pulled up outside within minutes. The engine was almost silent, expensive. Dorian's hand found hers and laced their fingers together. His skin still cold, but the touch felt right. "Thank you. For saving me, for trusting me, for being brave enough to stop hiding." Maya let him lead her out into the cold November air, the smell of it clean after the gun smoke and blood. Let him tuck her into the back seat of a car that cost more than she'd make in 10 years. Leather seats, soft, the smell of them rich and new. Let him sit close enough that their thighs touched. The driver pulled away from the curb. The diner disappeared behind them. Maya watched it shrink in the side mirror until it was gone. The city blurred past the windows, streetlights painting everything in orange and shadow, the sound of tires on wet pavement, the quiet hum of the engine. The heater kicked on and warm air filled the car. "Tell me about yourself," Dorian said softly. "Everything. I want to know everything." Maya stared out the window at the buildings sliding past, at the reflection of her face in the glass. "What do you want to know?" "Start with your father." Her throat tightened. "How did you—" "Dhampirs have vampire fathers." His hand squeezed hers. "Tell me about him." Maya was quiet for a long moment, watching the city pass, feeling the warmth of his hand despite the cold of his skin. Then she started talking, the words coming slow at first, then faster. "His name was Marcus. He met my mom at a hospital. She was a nurse, night shift." A small smile. "He came in with a knife wound that should have killed him. She stitched him up without asking questions, and he fell in love with her competence, her steadiness, the way she hummed while she worked." Dorian listened without interrupting, his thumb stroking patterns on her palm. "They got married. Had me. He tried to be normal. Worked construction, night shifts, wore sunglasses during the day, and said he had a skin condition." Her voice cracked slightly. "He loved us so much. He taught me to ride a bike, read me bedtime stories, checked under my bed for monsters even though he was the thing other people were scared of." "What happened to him?" Maya's eyes burned. "I was 17. We were walking home from a movie. It was late, dark. 3 men cornered us in an alley. She could still see it, still smell the garbage and the rain. Vampire hunters. They had silver blades. Holy water. They knew what he was." Her hand tightened on Dorian's. "My father could have fought back. He was faster, stronger. He could have killed all 3 of them without breaking a sweat." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "But I was there. And he knew if he used his abilities, they'd realize what I was too, that I was half vampire, that I could do things humans couldn't. So he let them kill him," Dorian said quietly. "He told me to run." The tears were falling now. She couldn't stop them. "He looked at me and he said, 'Run, baby girl. Don't look back. Don't ever let them see what you can do.'" Then he just stood there, let them drive silver through his heart. Bought me time to get away. Dorian pulled her against his chest and let her cry into his expensive shirt. His hand stroked her hair. The car kept moving through the city. I'm so sorry. My mom never recovered. Maya's voice was muffled against him. She looked at me sometimes, and I could see the fear. Because I had his eyes, his speed, his strength. She loved me, but she was terrified of me. She pulled back and wiped her eyes. She died in a car accident when I was 19. I think part of her was relieved. To not have to worry anymore. To not have to look at me and remember what killed him. So you ran. So I ran. She nodded. Changed my name. Found a new city. Got a job where no one would look twice at a shy waitress working overnight shifts. She laughed, bitter. I learned to move slowly, to act weak, to be invisible. I got so good at it, I almost forgot what I really was. Almost convinced myself I was human. You're not human, Dorian said. And you're not vampire. You're something else entirely. Something rare. His hand cupped her face and made her look at him. Something precious. I'm an abomination. You're a miracle. He said it with such certainty, such conviction. You're the best of both worlds. Human warmth and vampire strength. The ability to walk in daylight and move faster than anything living. You're not broken, Maya. You're perfect. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to feel like something other than a mistake. A creature caught between worlds that wanted nothing to do with her. Tell me about you, she said instead, changing the subject. 800 years is a long time. Dorian's expression went distant. Too long sometimes. What's the worst part? Watching everyone die. He said it simply, without drama, just truth. I was turned in 1224. I've loved and lost more times than I can count. Friends, lovers, people who mattered. His jaw tightened. Eventually you stop trying, stop getting close, because the pain of losing them is worse than the loneliness of being alone. So why talk to me? Maya asked. Why come to the diner every week? Why risk it? Because I got tired of being alone. The confession was raw, honest. Because for 6 months I've watched you smile at customers and refill coffee and clean tables, and I've seen the loneliness in you too, the way you move like you're afraid to take up space, the way you're always watching the exits. He met her eyes. You're lonely like me, and I thought maybe two lonely people could be less lonely together. The car slowed and turned through iron gates that opened automatically. Beyond them, a mansion rose against the night sky, all stone and iron and stained glass windows catching moonlight. A Gothic fairy tale in the middle of Manhattan. Impossible and beautiful. Welcome home, Dorian said softly. Home. She hadn't had a home in 8 years. The heavy car doors closed behind them with expensive clicks. Then the mansion doors, thick wood and iron, swung open, and they stepped inside. The doors closed behind them with a deep thud that echoed through marble halls. Inside, the mansion was breathtaking. Marble floors that echoed with their footsteps, crystal chandeliers catching light and throwing it in rainbow patterns across the walls. Artwork that belonged in museums, the smell of old wood and furniture polish and beeswax candles, something that smelled like safety, but Maya barely noticed. Her attention was focused entirely on the man leading her up a grand staircase. Their footsteps echoed in the vast space. The banister was smooth under her hand, polished wood that had been touched by centuries of hands. He stopped outside a heavy door, dark wood carved with patterns that looked ancient. My chambers. I can have a guest room prepared if you'd prefer. No. The word came out firm. Sure. I want to stay with you. His eyes blazed, dark and hungry and desperate. Maya. Unless you don't want... He kissed her, hard and desperate and claiming, backed her against the door with his body pressing into hers. She felt his hunger in every line of him, the way his hands gripped her waist, the way he groaned into her mouth, but then he pulled back. Wait! Maya blinked. What? I need to. He ran a hand through his hair. I need to know this is real, that you're not just scared, not just reacting to the adrenaline. She stared at him, at the vulnerability in his face, at the way he was trying so hard to do the right thing, even though she could feel the tension in him, the want. Come with me, she said. She took his hand and led him through the door into his chambers. Dark wood and darker fabrics, a massive bed, floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over gardens that glowed silver in the moonlight. Their footsteps were soft on thick carpet, but she didn't go to the bed. She led him to the window and made him sit on the wide ledge, sat beside him close enough that their shoulders touched. Look at the city, she said. He did. The lights of Manhattan spread out below them. Millions of people living their lives, completely unaware of the two creatures sitting in a window, completely unaware that anything had changed. I've been alone for 8 years, Maya said quietly. 8 years of watching other people live, other people connect, other people belong. Her hand found his. I'm not doing this because I'm scared. I'm doing this because for the first time in 8 years, I don't feel alone. Dorian's hand tightened on hers. I watched you for 6 months too, she confessed. Every Tuesday I'd see you come in and my heart would race. I'd practice what I'd say if you ever talked to me, if you ever saw me as anything other than a waitress. She laughed softly. I never thought you'd notice me, never thought someone like you would want someone like me. I noticed you the first night. His voice was rough. You smiled at an old man who couldn't afford his coffee, told him it was on the house. You thought no one was watching, but I was. And I thought, there. That's someone kind, someone real, someone who still cares about people even though the world is cruel. He turned to face her. I came back every Tuesday because of that smile, because you made me remember what it felt like to care about someone. Maya's eyes burned. I'm terrified this isn't real, that I'll wake up and you'll be gone, that this is just a dream I'm having while bleeding out on the diner floor. It's real. He cupped her face with both hands, ice against warmth. I'm real. This is real. His thumb brushed away a tear she didn't know had fallen. And I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you tell me to. Don't go, she whispered. Please don't ever go. Never. The promise was absolute. You saved my life tonight. Now let me spend whatever time we have making yours worth living. She kissed him, slow and sweet and full of everything she couldn't say. He kissed her back with gentle hunger, his lips cold but the kiss burning. They stayed at the window for a long time, kissing, touching, learning each other. The city lights sparkled below them. The moon rose higher, and slowly the fear and adrenaline faded, replaced by something warmer, something real. When they finally moved to the bed, it wasn't rushed, wasn't desperate. It was inevitable, like two puzzle pieces finally fitting together. Dorian undressed her slowly, reverent, like she was art. The pink uniform, the sensible shoes, the plain cotton bra and underwear, each piece removed with careful attention, his cold fingers trailing over warm skin, leaving goosebumps in their wake. When she stood before him with nothing to hide behind, he just looked. His eyes, tracing every curve, every line, every scar, making her feel beautiful in a way she'd never felt before. Perfect, he breathed. You're perfect. Then it was her turn. She unbuttoned his shirt with shaking hands and revealed pale skin and lean muscle, old scars that told stories she wanted to hear. She traced them with her fingers, with her lips, felt him shiver under her touch. A king brought low by a shy waitress who caught bullets and stole hearts. They moved to the bed. He laid her down on silk sheets that whispered against her skin, covered her body with his, cold skin against warm, different but right, like they were made to fit together this way. Tell me if it's too much, he murmured against her throat. His lips traced her pulse, the beat of it strong and steady under his mouth. Tell me if you want me to stop. Don't stop. Her hand slid into his hair, soft, silky. Please don't stop. So he didn't. He made love to her slowly, thoroughly, his cold lips on her warm skin, temperature contrasts that made her gasp, made her arch. He learned what made her moan, what made her cry out his name. He was gentle and demanding by turns, patient even though she could feel his need thrumming through him. She could hear her heartbeat loud in the quiet, knew he could hear it too, knew he could probably hear the blood rushing through her veins, the life pulsing through her. When they came together, when they moved as one, something clicked into place, like a key turning in a lock, like two pieces of a puzzle finally fitting together. She felt complete in a way she'd never felt before. Mine, he growled against her neck, his fangs grazing her skin, but not breaking it, not yet. Say you're mine. Yours, she gasped. Always yours. They moved together, finding rhythm, building heat, the silk sheets tangled around them, the moonlight painting them silver, until they both shattered, crying out, clinging to each other like the world was ending and beginning all at once. After, wrapped in his arms with her head on his chest, listening to his slow heartbeat, Maya felt safe for the first time in 8 years. "The men who attacked you," she said quietly. "Who sent them?" "I have suspicions." His hand stroked her hair. "The bullets were custom, silver blessed by a priest. Only 3 gunsmiths in the city can make them. One of them will talk. What will you do? Find out who paid for them. Find out who wants me dead." His arm tightened around her. "And make sure they can never hurt you." "I can handle myself." "I know." He kissed the top of her head. "But you don't have to anymore. That's what this means. Us. Together. Fighting side by side." "Together," she echoed, testing the word, liking how it sounded. "There's a woman," Dorian said. "Victoria Cross. She's been trying to take my territory for years. This has her fingerprints all over it. Messy. Brutal. Using humans as pawns." His voice went cold. "I'll deal with her. She'll wish she'd never been." Turned. Maya shivered, not from fear, from the dark promise in his voice, the protection implicit in every word. "When?" she asked. "Soon." His hand traced patterns on her shoulder. "But not tonight. Tonight is ours." They lay in comfortable silence. Outside, dawn was breaking, pink and gold painting the sky. A new day, a new life. "I'm falling in love with you," Dorian said softly. "I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But I am." Maya's chest tightened. "I'm falling in love with you too." The confession felt huge, terrifying. "Right. We'll figure this out," he promised. "Victoria Cross. Whoever else comes, whatever's next, we'll face it together." "Together," she agreed. She fell asleep in his arms as the sun rose, feeling loved for the first time in her life, feeling chosen, feeling like she finally belonged somewhere, to someone. Victoria Cross would make her move. The attackers would come again. There would be danger ahead, blood and violence and fear. But they would face it side by side, a vampire king and his dhampir queen. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough.